Imagine shooting one production and sending it out in two different formats. Well, that's dual mode, and today I'm going to show you how to design intentionally for dual mode. Because in Ecamm, instead of just taking your video in a standard horizontal landscape format and trying to crop it somewhere and hope that we found exactly what you were looking for, we allow you to set your show up so that everything fits exactly where it needs to go for the platform it's going on. So if you're sending a horizontal feed out to YouTube and say a vertical feed out to YouTube Shorts or TikTok or Instagram, you can design the vertical side to look the way it should look for vertical instead of the weird crop where things are missing and not properly set up. And nobody really likes that, but we just dealt with it because, well, that's what we thought we had to. But now we can do it this way. So let me show you. Let me show you how to set this up. We are going to first go into Ecamm here, and I'm going to start a brand new scene. In this brand new scene, I have something called intro. Okay. I know how to spell. Okay. Press intro. So on the intro scene, I want to put a single camera with the background. And the way this is set up right now, my photo is here in the middle or my video is in the middle, and that's not exactly what I want. So I like to go into Ecamm preferences, and you can get to that by clicking on the word in the menu, sliding down to the word preferences, and you'll see right there it says command comma, because in pretty much every Mac program on the planet, command comma opens up preferences. So I'm going to switch this in the video tab. You see destinations, here's video. I'm going to switch it to blank. I don't say there's a lot of rules in Ecamm. That's one of my rules. You should always switch to blank. It makes life easier. So whenever you create a new scene, you get blank. It just works a heck of a lot better. So to get to blank, if you forgot to do that, go up under where it says source and select blank, which is Shift Command B or Command Shift B, depending on how long you've been using the Mac. So I'm going to bring that, and here's my blank scene. Much better, right? You guys don't get to see my face. So what I want to do is open up my folder of assets, and I want to drag out this PNG, which is my background. Now, very important, I like to stick it in show in background area on the overlays panel because that spreads it to both canvases automatically. It's on the horizontal canvas and the vertical canvas. If for some reason you didn't do that and you just dropped it in here, it will fit. You right click on it and go to center the overlay, and you could also resize the fill canvas, but now it's no longer in the vertical. So you would drag it again. Don't do that. Just come over to overlays and drag it down to show in background, and it'll automatically end up in both places. Now, important for this intro is you're going to want to see the person talking to you. So in my camera switcher here, I like to move this out the way. In my camera switcher here, I could just drag the camera on, and it's going to place a camera right here somewhere in the center, and I can hit that. I can also hit resize the fill canvas, which is way too big. I'm scrolling back down because you see this camera is square. It's not really set up for this horizontal space. Well, not in this particular case. But before I change the size, I am going to just pick this guy up and drag it over to the vertical side. I'm going to temporarily move these graphics off the window so that we can see what we're doing, and that is Command tilde. That's the little squiggly thing in the upper keyboard above tab next to number 1, so you can get that out the way. And I will place the camera here and stretch it out so that it fits there. As a matter of fact, for the intro, I probably want it to take up this whole side. I just think that'll work better. Now, I'll also drag this camera back over to the horizontal side, and in this particular case, I'll pull it out. I'll lock it into about what I like as the middle. I'll bring it over, and here we are. Now we're set up, right? We're perfectly set up. Now here's what I mean. If I were to press on this text icon here and type my name, I know what my name is, right? And if I were to just place this in as a lower third, which is really cool, right? If I use the little gearbox here, I'm going to set this transition as to fly in. And then if I were to pop that on and off, it's going to come in. Bingo, bango, that works. However, if I were to move this over to the opposite side by right clicking upon it and say duplicate to the vertical canvas, at the bottom here, this is not a good place for it here because on most of your social platforms, comments are going to be down here and therefore they're going to be in the way. So in a way, I would probably take the camera and lift it up a little bit and then move this about like so. So I have the same experience, but I have ample space for comments if somebody were to come and leave a comment on the show. Now, before we move on to the next scene, I'm going to show you a little trick. Pay attention. I'm going to right click upon this guy and say copy. You'll see why in a second. Let me come over to my other scene and I'm going to call this interview. Ooh. I'm going to call this interview. And then I want to put in a space for my host and my guest. Now, in my folder of all things, I have another folder called Scene Basics. And what I use this for is allows me to easily repeat layouts that I use over and over and over again. So I'm going to drag this PNG into this particular scene, right click, center that overlay, and then also double check, resize the fill canvas so everything is set. I'm going to grab a camera and place it on. And then just by using my little eyeballs here, I can line this guy up and line this guy up. And then now I have a easy, repeatable scene. I don't have to work too hard to get it all laid out. And then bingo. Now I can take this Scene Basics thing and throw it in the trash because I'm lined up. And this particular extra person would be my guest. Now remember, I have pressed the copy key. All I need to do is come over here and hit the paste key, which is Command V. You could also go up in the edit menu and come down until you see paste. And that should paste in the graphic that was my name. Now in this particular case, I'm going to put it about right here. And I'm going to drag a copy over and put it here. And this is where the guest name is going to go. Okay, so I'll click on that and I'll do bingo. All right, now we're set up. Now, what about building this other side, the vertical, well, that side, the other vertical side into doing an interview? In some cases, you might do a stacked camera, right? So in a stacked camera instance, I would drag a camera onto here, use my mouse scrolly to get it about right. I'll put one here at the top, then holding down the Option key, drag the opposite camera down, drag in the guest, and now this is the stacked camera view. But in another view, maybe I want that guest to be front and center. So what we're going to do, also before we get to that, I'll show you another thing, but let me go build this front and center one, and then we'll come back to this and I'll show you some other things about being intentional about your vertical formats. So let me duplicate this scene, and this I'm going to call it unstacked or guest unstacked. And then only in the vertical view, I'm going to delete my camera and take the guest view and pull it all the way up, give them ample space, and maybe clear a little space for comments down here in the bottom. Now, the reason for this, I'm going to be the guest temporarily. The reason for this is in a situation where you're dealing in a vertical format, the two small cameras may be a little small, or maybe the guest is saying something that's very important. Everyone needs to pay attention to it. I would switch to this. So I could easily go from this particular scene to this particular scene where the guest is, sort of large and in charge. Let me make this the width of the canvas here, right? And so I can jump from here to here, and that allows the guest to be large and in charge. As a matter of fact, let's put the guest back on so you can see how the animation will look when we switch over. Everything else over here doesn't change. And maybe also on this second scene, maybe on this version, I would also hide the names, right? So they're no longer coming in. And they just kind of like, as I switch off, they would just disappear. And that's because there's less things happening, works a little bit better for the vertical format. So that's another thing. One other thing that you could possibly do is while we're on this particular scene, let's get a copy of the guest name setup, and then we'll go back to this one and we'll paste it in using the Command V. And then we'll drag this over here. And on this particular one, we can leave it like that, but I would click on the pencil and just turn off the animation so that way it's not as obnoxious. And then if we go here and then we're ready to bring up this guy is on, it's important, right? Now, one other trick you can do is take the Zoom. We're not in a Zoom meeting right now, but there's such a thing as a Zoom placeholder camera where I could put that there. If you have multiple guests, it will switch automatically when that other person is talking. That's a Zoom placeholder feature. We'll get deeper into that in a different video. But this is where you're getting in and you're designing things very, very intentionally. Now let's do one other thing. We want to press on the new scene here. And I want to call this screen share. Because, you know, we're often teaching. Oh my goodness, I just realized he is not typing anything correct. So we're going to go in here, screen share. I'm going to reach into my little bag of tricks here, and I'm going to do two versions of the screen share. I'm going to pop this one in. Again, right click, center the overlay. I like to double check it, resize the fill canvas. And the first thing I'm going to do is grab upon my face, put it there, line it up with the layout. Ooh. Grab the camera and put it about like such. That looks good. And then I want to click on the old screen share here. And I'm going to press on the pencil. In this case, let's select, I want my Brave browser. So there's my browser there. And I will line this up here and pull this guy out to about there. And then if I wanted to, I could, if I set my browser to a bigger size, I can make this bigger. But for right now, we'll leave it like that. Let me pull this down. See if we can get about right. Let's call that good. Let's call that good. And then we can go ahead and delete the little template thing that I made. So now if I have something here in my browser, I would be able to access that. Now, the extra space I left in the bottom is where, you know, I would stick in a logo or something of that nature. Let's do one other thing. We want to duplicate this particular scene. And then we want to do this with the guest too. So that's guest screen share. And then I'm going to reach back into my old bag of tricks here. And I want to bring back on this PNG here. And again, right click, center that overlay, right click, resize the fill canvas, just to make sure. I'm going to drag this down to the bottom. And the only thing I'm going to do here is drag this camera up and then hold down the Option key and pull it down. And again, I left that extra space there just so that I have a place to put a logo or something of that nature. And what I'm going to do here is actually bring this window over, and let me pencil this and say custom. There we go. And the reason why I'm making this a little smaller is so that we'll have place for comments, which I'll set up for you in just a second. I'm going to ignore the logo space because you all know you can drag a logo in, right? We're just going to leave that there. So now I can take this piece and delete it and call it a day. So we have the screen share where there is just the host, and then we have the screen share where there's going to be the host and the guest. Okay, very simple layouts. Now, here's where this gets tricky. On the vertical side, screen shares are challenging at best, right? But let's just go ahead and right click upon this and say duplicate to the vertical canvas. And use my scroll wheel. I'm going to shrink this down. And then because I set it to custom, I can kind of get it to where it's semi-square. I would probably put it closer to the top just so that there's no chance of having other things get on there. And say in this particular case, it was important to have you and the guests on screen at the same time. What I would probably do is put the camera here, change it into a like different size shape. Let's go to circles maybe. I just missed that. Circles maybe, and shrink them down a little bit, and then put like that there. And maybe I'd bring this over here and change this one to be the guest, right? Or you just put one of you on the screen. So that's, again, we're designing intentionally for this particular setup. You could always reverse it to get center mass attention. Put this guy in the center, wait for the little chicle that pops up. It's a line that pops up to let you know you've hit the center. Oh, actually, you can right click and say center to overlay. And then maybe you can put yourself and the guest a little bit higher up here at the top. And again, you still have ample room for comments on the bottom. And while we're here, let's go ahead and take care of the comments. So we're going to look up in the menu here, and under overlays, you have something known as a placeholder comment overlay. And so we're going to do add to both. Bingo. And here's your placeholder comment overlay. So what this allows me to do is to size a comment up so that it fits perfectly for this particular show. And on this side, I'm going to bring it down. Now, one thing you notice, I actually reduced the size of the avatar icon for the vertical streams because it just takes up a lot of space, and this allows it to look a little bit prettier. So I have my placeholder comment overlay here, everything set up. Now mine is actually purple. They tend to come in with a transparent gray, or you might even have them come in with no background. But again, it's just simple. Go in here, select your colors, click on the color chicle, and then down here you can select any of your colors in your setup to allow it to sort of match your layout. So for this particular layout, let's go ahead and set that comment box to orange, and you can right click on here and say copy. You can right click on here and say paste settings, and then that turns that guy to orange. So I don't have to duplicate it multiple times. Now, the other thing that's cool, a couple things, you can drag this comment and you can drag it to this particular scene. And then I can grab this comment overlay and drag it to the same screen share scene. So when we go here, they're actually already in place, right? Super simple. Now, same thing. Let's go to our screen share layout, and we want to get this version of the screen share and drag it to that scene. So when we go here, it's already in position, right? And then maybe on this scene, because I only have the host, I'm just going to put the host camera here, switch it back to, say, custom, and then I would just pull the host camera out to match the screen share. Again, you're building for each individual show in a manner that allows you to put forth the best effort for the people that are watching the show, so they're not just super confused. So again, we're building things very much on purpose for the way that they're going to be laid out. So we have our intro scene, we have our interview scene, we have our unstacked version of the interview scene. And again, if I wanted to add comments to this particular one, I probably wouldn't put comments on the vertical for this just because it will get a little messy with the guest name in the way. But I can go down to placeholder comment and say add to the horizontal canvas, and then that guy would just go sort of right here. You know, as a matter of fact, I can make it a little bit smaller and pop it about right there, call that a day. And now, one thing that I like to add before we get out of here, you'll see there's the screen share, which we just did, and then the screen share with the guests. I like to add one more, and this one is going to be our comments, or, you know, from the people in the audience, right? So I'll call this the comments section. And then the first thing I'm going to do is go back over to the one where I have the host and the guest screen share, and we're going to do a little bit of sort of housekeeping. I'm going to, at the very bottom of this panel, click on this folder, and I'm going to say this, cameras. Ooh, I love when that happens. Cameras. Okay, I'm going to put in the guest camera, and I'm going to put in the host camera. Okay, because now these guys are together. Did I miss? Why did that work? Oh, no, I got it. Sorry. There you go. That's in the way. So if I click on this, then you see they disappear together. Okay, so now I could put those on the link box, bring that down, and again, just drag it over to my other scene where the comments are, and then they're already there. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to put on a graphic of where I want these comments to go. So I have this gigantic thing here called comment bubble, and I would click that, center that overlay, and then resize the fill canvas. And I'll just shrink this down a little bit. And then let's go right about here, a little bit bigger. Ooh. There we go. We're going to call it that, right? So what I'm going to do with this particular setup is click on the pencil and then go in the blend mode, and I will set this blend mode to overlay. So it's not as brash. Another good one when you're in here is lighten. I like overlay the best for this particular setup, so I'm going to set this for overlay. And then what that's going to allow me to do now is if I set up a placeholder camera for this, a placeholder comment overlay for this, I'll do the horizontal canvas. And then I'm going to pick this guy up and I'm going to embiggen it to about yo big. And in this particular case, I'm going to take off the color and the border. So I'm going to go none. And then for the border, I'm going to go none. So that way the comment just comes in here. And if it's a long comment, it will fill up this whole little area. I'm going to shrink this avatar just a wee bit, but we'll place that there. Now, same thing on the opposite side. I can grab my comment bubble and I'll place it there. And then I'll say resize to fill the canvas, center that guy, and then use my scroll wheel to shrink it down. And then I'm just going to use all of this space down here to put comments. Actually, I want this comment to kind of be in a center so that, you know, people can feel real about themselves. And then I'm going to come down here to comment overlay and say add to the vertical canvas. And then now I can place this guy here and bring it in a little bit, set it up about there. And again, if it's a longer comment, it will fill up the whole entire thing. Maybe on this one, I'm maybe going to put a camera because I want to let the commenter be the king or queen of the show in this particular case. So again, designing very much specifically for your platforms. I'm going to add one more scene. And on this scene, I'm simply going to add the movie that is the outro. And then it will play on both scenes. In this particular case, I'm not going to add anything else here. Maybe I have a QR code or a link or something that I would add to the other side. But that, my friends, is how you design intentionally for dual mode layouts. Very simple to do. It's really a matter of thinking and planning. And I highly suggest you do sort of what I did. You could do this in any program. I used Keynote because it's just easy, and Keynote actually gives you numbers, which helps you kind of do math. But you can go in here and just sort of lay out the type of scenes that you're going to set up, and just don't get fancy with colors and, you know, get too crazy. You just want to make boxes so you can see how you're going to enjoy those layouts. And once you've done this, you're able to replicate that process because you kind of know how your layouts are going to be when you get in and you start designing. So that, my friends, is how you do it. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, let us know in the comments section below. We have lots more videos for you to go through so you can get up to date on dual mode. Of course, if you haven't tried Ecamm, there's a link down there so you can get yourself a 14-day free trial and get yourself started. And welcome to the Ecamm fam.